Limitless Speaks, transforming minds one episode at a time.
And the number one advice I would give to ourselves, every man, is to find your garden. Eve was brought to Adam in the garden.
Yeah.
And when I say find your garden, find your purpose and walk in your purpose.
All right. Tend to forget that marrying wrong doesn't always mean hardship or struggle. Because of your helpmate, so to speak, is meant to get you to your final destination. There's a help that only gets you halfway. There's a help that only gets you 10% or 80%. So
being used as well, because before I was called to the ministry of being a wife. I'm the daughter of the Most High.
Yeah.
So I have to walk in the purpose that He has called me to walk in and just be active in the dimension that He has called me to be active in.
I'd want someone who would have the grace to bear my purpose with me, or to bear what God has put in my heart. Because you can be a baby girl or be very, very serious, but if she doesn't have that grace, then it's going to cause a rift.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Limitless Speaks. In this series, we're discussing Bible verses, some controversial, some just interesting, like a new dynamic to it. I'm Joshua, and I have two lovely gentlemen with me. On my right, I have
Raymond.
Nice, and you have for the first
Cyril.
time. Yeah. All right. So today, the Bible verse we're gonna be going into is actually I'll read. It's Proverbs 18:22. First, I'll read it, and I'm gonna pair it with a second scripture just to take it in an interesting direction. Then we'll get some alternative versions of the same verse. So Proverbs 18:22, it says, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord." So I'm going to be pairing it with Genesis 3:12. That was Adam speaking to God. So it says, "Then the man said, 'The woman who you gave to be with me, she gave me of the tree and I ate.'" So, okay, let's first take the alternative version. If you read from the Amplified version, please.
All right, from Amplified.
Yeah.
He who finds a true and faithful wife finds a good thing and obtains favor and approval from the Lord.
All right. And if you read from the NLT, please.
The NLT. The man who finds a wife finds a treasure, and he receives favor from the Lord.
Yeah. All right. So, it's an interesting thing. Something I from a conference I had a while back. So it's just speaking about Adam and why essentially you have to now find your wife. And I suppose the question we're going to pose in this episode is, do you find a wife or does God give you a wife? Because in Genesis, God gave Adam Eve. And when things went, haywire, he's like, "Look, this woman you gave me, she's taking me astray. Like, it's your fault, God. Like, why are you giving me someone, sketchy?" So God is like, "Okay, fine. I'm not doing this giving business anymore. Go find your wife. Come to me for approval." And that's like the favor bit. So I want to first of all get your perspective on that. Do you think God still gives a wife? Because people pray, "God, give me a wife, give me a spouse." Does He still give, or is He like, "Look, I'm done with this giving business. Go find by yourself. Come to me. I'll give you approval, but I'm done with this giving business." So what do you think? Let's start with you, Cyril.
Oh, yes. I think God still gives wives.
All right.
And because He said we should involve Him in everything.
All right.
Everything includes the wife thing.
All right.
I think He still gives wives, and if we're ready to acknowledge Him in that aspect of our lives, then He will very much give us a wife. Yeah.
So if He gives wife, then why is He asking me to go find? Because like in for blessings, God gives me blessings. I just go say, "Fine, God, your word says this. This is what I'm entitled to. Why is it still telling me in Proverbs, go find a wife and come to me for favor? Like if you're giving me I don't give you this book, then tell you go find a book." So what's your perspective on that? If He still gives wives, why is He asking me to still go find someone by myself?
Yeah, so I think that finding is a heart posture.
All right.
A heart posture that links, based on our relationship with God.
All right.
God, this is my desire.
Yeah.
I want to find this thing.
Yeah.
And when we position ourselves in that state, God recognizes that, we've actually found, and then He gives His approval.
All right. Yeah.
So that's how I see it.
Interesting.
But not literally going out with the torchlights and then
searching.
This is my opinion, though. My opinion.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. What about you, Raymond? What do you think about it?
No, I'm absolutely on the same lines. Back in the Garden of Eden, that was a very one-to-one thing. So God literally brought one woman to one man. Yeah. So He didn't really have too much choice. This is the first woman He recognizes. Like this is it. But no, I think in this day and age, we actually do have that choice.
Yeah.
So if we want that scenario that Cyril mentioned, I won't go through it again, but I believe everything he said was perfect and complete.
Yeah.
But we do have that choice if we don't want to involve God.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, I see this person, maybe they go to church or they look good or X, Y, and Z, so I'm just gonna marry the person.
Yeah.
So it's like Cyril said, we have that choice. So if it's that way where we acknowledge God, then I believe it's not a case of us finding, it's more us, like he said, the heart posture is right.
Yeah.
And then when the time is right, our eyes will open.
All right.
But it's God that has done it all along.
All
it's
right.
not really our doing.
Yeah.
But now if it's us, then we go and we do our own manly standards and our earthly standards, and we just find somebody else.
All right.
That'll be down
that
to
makes
us.
sense. And what about the second half where it says, and obtains favor with the Lord? Because it says, first of all, you have to find a wife before you obtain that favor. So me as a single guy enjoying life, is there some dimension of favor I'm not enjoying because I've not, gone and found a wife? Like, what do you think about that next portion? The obtains favor, like, because it first says when you find a wife, so when you obtain favor. Is there like a new dimension of favor that, we need to be operating in?
Absolutely. I would say there is a new level of favor that you get when you find a wife. But I'm not going to now put that to the point that married people are better than single people.
Yeah.
Because some people genuinely have that call for singleness.
Yeah.
So marriage and singleness is not one's better than the other. They are both different. But I do believe for those that are called to marriage, once you enter that step, there is a new level of favor. There are so many people that say, oh, before, once they got married, they saw like how a wife, brought that, favor into their lives, how doors started opening once they were married. And, if you go back to the book of Genesis as well, where God says, he talks about the blessings that God put on man.
Yeah.
If you look at the passage, he's not talking to Adam, he's talking to the collective.
Yeah.
It says God blessed them.
Yeah.
He said to them, be fruitful, multiply, have dominion, subdue and replenish.
Yeah.
When you see God talking to Adam as an individual, you see him saying, dear the trees, don't eat the middle one. But when you see him talking to them, that's when they now have that mandate of dominion.
All right.
So I think there are different levels of favor for those that are called to marriage.
Yeah, I think I like that. It makes sense because at the end of the day, the reason why God first brought, a sort of a female or a woman was to give that help. So like life partners are meant to help each other. So I do agree that it brings some sort of new, not new favor, but a new level of strength to go to where you need to get to.
Absolutely.
I feel as if that sort of lightly pushes us on to like the next thing to talk about is, so if you're finding, then what are you looking for? Because whenever you ask people like, what should you find, they give very, very bland answers, in my opinion. They'll say, I want someone who is spiritually sound. I want someone who is, strong in the gospel. But let's be honest, if you're in a thriving church, someone who's spiritually sound, that's like half the ladies, maybe even 3/4 of the ladies.
Right.
Are you looking for the entire church? Like what are you looking for? Because there's a nice sermon that I listened to over the week. It says, find someone who can bear your destiny. Essentially, he was preaching about how when he was finding his wife. So there was different options because I think he was quite he was of age at the time, and I think he was also in ministry. So there was that pressure of, okay, let him, like people were trying to pressure like get married quickly, so they're pushing a bunch of ladies his way. But the reason why he didn't marry some of them were very simple and genuine reasons. Okay, fine, this lady, she's nice, she's God-fearing, but he feels she doesn't really give to the church, and that's kind of a problem on his end because he's in the ministry. He really believes in moving the gospel forward. So he felt that could cause conflict in the marriage, essentially. So his reasons, I really liked it. His reasons were quite simple, quite on what he's finding. It's not just the bland, I want to find someone spiritually sound, I want to find someone, because I think, at least from my perspective, I think people tend to forget that marrying wrong doesn't always mean hardship or struggle. Because of your helpmate, so to speak, is meant to get you to your final destination. There's a help that will only get you halfway. There's a help that will only get you 10% or 80%. So you can marry wrong and still be enjoying life. You don't realize you've achieved your full potential because things still look good. If I'm trying to get from here to a different country, there's someone who will take me just to the next city. There's someone who can take me all the way to the end. So the question that I have for you is, what should finding look like? Are you finding someone who will carry your destiny for you, who you'll carry their destiny? Like, what does finding look like to you? Yeah. Maybe we can start with Cyril since you just finished.
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. So for me, finding for me would be intentionally seeking God's face to, hand over that will and intention to Him. Because really, if you ask me, like, for example, what are you actually looking out for? I can say I don't know what I'm looking out for, or what I think I'm looking out for right now may not be profitable for me in the next 5 years or 10 years.
I like that.
But our God, who knows like the end from the beginning, He knows what's going to happen in 10 years and in 15 years. He is in a better position to actually do do all the filtering and everything, and then open my eyes, like Raymond said, like open my eyes to see, and then start, appreciating those qualities in that person. Like, oh, actually, this will be beneficial for you and your future, where I'm heading you to. And, also, just to add this, because God has given me a purpose as well. So it would also help to, look out for that purpose in that person, as an indication that this is the person that God is leading me to.
All right. I like that. I mean, you do hear that a lot, though, like the seek from God. So my what I'll pose back to you is, so in principle, it makes perfect sense, and I believe every Christian will agree with it. Seek from God first, hear from Him before you marry. But in practicality, a lot of people who are of the marrying age will not be at that point spiritually where they can say, okay, fine, God has given me this clear direction, this clear leading. You might have some slight inkling. So what about the guys who, for whatever reason, you're just not at that point spiritually, or you're struggling, you might say, because when you're in love, everything, like I said before, it looks like a sign. Because, I accidentally bumped it. Okay, fine, I didn't plan to meet you. That's God telling me, marry this lady. Like, everything can look like a sign. So how do you go about that? Because people always say, go hear from God, but it's a lot trickier than it sounds, so to speak.
Absolutely. And the number one advice I would give to ourselves, every man, is to find your garden. Eve was brought to Adam in the garden. And when I say find your garden, find your purpose and walk in your purpose.
All right.
Don't just be idly, waiting for a wife. We have things that we can achieve right now, and that's what we seek God's face for before even a person comes along. We seek God. What is my purpose? What can I do right now?
All right.
And the Bible says, whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. We're not just sitting around waiting for a woman to come into our lives before the favor, before everything. There's levels of favor that we already have now. There's giftings, there's talents, there's potentials that we all have. So we walk in that, and then when the time is right, God will now bring that woman along our way. So I would definitely say find purpose, walk in that purpose, and then when the time is right.
I like that. That will lead me to pose an interesting question. So let's simplify. Let's use the garden example, right? So I found my purpose. I'm a gardener. I'm gardening in whatever garden it is, of my beautiful, lovely garden.
Yes.
So I'm working in my purpose, and I'm trusting God will, send me that helpmate. Then I find, 2 ladies walk into my life, whether a separate time or not. Both of them are lovely gardeners. They both are...
Yes.
They're both lovely gardeners. They can both, tend to flowers and neatly. So in such a scenario, first of all, in such a scenario, let me change the first question. Do you believe you can be at a point in life where you're conflicted because you have more than 2 ladies who can suit your purpose? And in that scenario, what do you do? How would you address it? Because if you found your purpose and you're looking for someone that complements that, the reality is there'll be a lot of people that complement it in different ways. So what do you do? You can't go, because we're Christians, you can't go start chasing multiple ladies. You have to, narrow it down. And I know at the end of the day it comes down to discernment, but what does that look like? How does that work out?
Okay, a short answer. You have to choose one.
Yes.
But to expand on that, right? God is not an author of confusion. And if truly, you're in your garden, the one that God has given you is going to bring Eve. And it will be very glaring that you will know this is my Eve, like this is Eve. So there's no, vacillation of whether this is Eve or it's not Eve or someone else. So, it all starts from being in that particular garden that God has given you. And then He will bring Eve there, and you will know that this is actually the flesh of my flesh of my flesh.
So are you saying if I've not found my purpose, I cannot find my Eve? Until I found that purpose, because people take until some people find it early, some people until 30s, 40s. So if I've not found that purpose, I can't find my Eve because God won't give me that.
So some people are already walking in purpose, but they are not so aware. So it doesn't there's no signpost that says this is purpose. You're in it. So they're already in it. And automatically, God just brings the person into that thing they're already doing.
Compliment.
Yeah.
I like that. Do you have anything to add on to that?
Absolutely. I think, it's a good advice, that if somebody doesn't know their purpose and, just to focus on God, focus on purpose and things. But in terms of finding a wife, it can actually happen at any time. Like God can bring somebody your way at any time. It's not the thing about finding a wife, of course, we have revelation, we have dreams and that.
Yeah.
It's not always prophetic. Sometimes a man and a woman meet each other and they just like each other, and it gets to marriage, and God is in it, in the whole way.
Yeah.
So it's like there's so many ways that one can be connected to the person. It's just a case of, being open when it happens, that kind of step, like being ready for anything in that sense. That's what I would say.
All right. Yeah. I like that. So an interest, although it'll be from a very biased perspective since we're all male. But so from your perspective then, since you're doing the finding, do you believe the ladies should just be waiting to get found? Like, what would you expect from your future partner if you're doing the finding? What would you expect from her? Because would she just be waiting to get found? Would she just be making herself a suitable helpmate? Like, what in your mind, for example, what will your ideal partner be doing while you're doing the finding? Yeah.
My ideal partner will be walking in some form of purpose on her own already, and like she's not going to be sitting around idle. So the biblical example I love is Abigail. She was the wife of Nabal. So when David was coming in his fury, he was going to kill Nabal. But we can already see qualities from Abigail. She was very proactive. The second she heard there's trouble, quickly get food, get everything, reach out to him. And when she was speaking to David, and this is something that's very key, and this is something that has to be in our wives. She saw the greatness in him. She saw what God was doing in his life, and she was able to address him like that. She said, you're going to be the king. God's going to establish Israel in your hands. Don't do this, that kind of thing. So my wife, she should be in God. God should be speaking to her. And by the time we get together, she should already see something in me. Even if she doesn't see the whole picture, she should see that greatness in me, and she should be able to address me according to that greatness. And I will see potential and greatness in her as well.
All right. Yeah. I like that lovely perspective. Would you like to add anything onto that?
Yeah, that's really nice. I felt it. Just to reference Rebecca, that's Isaac's wife. You saw how that Abraham's servant, he said, like, the lady who would bring something for me, and he gave the order and everything. So she was already doing her own thing. Like, that was her regular pattern of living, going to the well to get water and, go back. So it wasn't strange to her. So that was what she was found doing.
All right.
So for my wife, just like Raymond said, I think she should, have something that God has told her about her own destiny and, about her purpose. And she should be in that and walking doing that. And, walking in it. And then, Abraham's servant will find her, bring her to me.
All right.
All
right. All right, lovely. So we'll be coming to the end. We're going to give our closing points. I'll start just like give you time to process and think on what you'd like to end with, since you just spoke. I think for me with marriage, one of the biggest thing that really resonates with me is reaching your full potential. It's something I'm quite intentional about, because by the grace of God, I've been blessed with many talents, and I don't want to waste what God has given me. So I'm really intentional about getting to where God needs me to go, because the thing about reaching your full potential is it's not just about you. It's about the people you bless on the way. God didn't give you things for you. He gave you things to bless others. So I feel people need to be just more intentional about when you're marrying. Make sure whoever you're marrying is getting you as far as possible. Don't go and start saying, okay, fine, you can't get me 100%, I'm leaving. That's, give them chance to grow. Like you said, let them see what is coming in you. But I feel people need to be a lot more intentional about, okay, fine, this life partner I'm about to choose, will they get me to my destiny? Don't disappoint destiny because you want to marry quick, or your parents are pressuring you, or all the funny reasons. So we'll start with you on what your final point would be.
With me, I think kind of like it was said throughout the episode, and something that I believe was just laid on my heart that may help people, is just that there's never going to be that perfect time to now get married. I think it can happen at any point. Some people, okay, they can reach certain points in career, in ministry, X, Y, and Z before now they get married. But some people, God can do that for them very early, when there isn't so much. There's so many examples of successful marriages that have started at various points in life. So I think what I would say to people is just, it's not that you should now be desperately looking, but I would say just keep your eyes open, keep your heart open. So if God brings somebody your way now, don't look at your situation. Don't be like, but I'm too young, or I'm not here in my career yet. Just be ready for what God can do at any time. That's what I would say.
Lovely.
Yeah, so for me, it would be, like the method of reception and actually hearing from God regarding your spouse. You know? God speaks to us in different ways.
Yeah.
It can come through a genuine passion.
Yeah.
Like, don't ignore it, or don't say, I want mine to be prophetic. Because, what we see online these days is people hearing like prophetic ways of receiving their spouse. And, just be very open and just release your spirit to accept the person when God is telling you that this is a person. It can be through connecting numbers or different things.
Yeah.
Just
anything.
Just find that alignment that this is God speaking, and God's will is in it.
Yeah, I like that. That's a lovely spot to close on. From his of always be ready. Like, don't look at where you are right now, because God can. There's a lot God can do with you, and even you as finding the partner, look at that little that God has put in that person that can become greatest. And from serious perspective, be sensitive. God speaks in many, many, many ways. So it's not always you had some dream of So there's many ways God speaks. So all right. So you've had a lot of our perspective, as gentlemen, on what we think about this verse and about marriage. So, but we're gonna get a female perspective. So we're gonna add on one more person to just give us a female perspective on what she thinks of marriage, and we're gonna ask her a few questions as well just to get her perspective. All right, so welcome back. We've replaced Raymond with our lovely Dami here, a female member of the of the team, so to speak. So we're just gonna ask her a few questions. We'll get her perspective, and she's free to also ask us as well if she has any. But yeah, yeah. So we're gonna start from the finding one, because the verse we had was, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord." So if we are finding a wife, you as the wife, what are you doing? Are you just trying to be found? And and if you're trying to be found, what does that look like? Is that putting makeup and looking good? Is that praying hot prayers to look like I'm spiritually strong? What are you doing while we're finding, and what does that look like?
I think, like you guys mentioned in your part as well, like me being proactive. I think that's the word that was being used as well, because before you were, or I was called to the ministry of being a wife. I'm the daughter of a Most High. Yeah. So I have to walk in the purpose that He has called me to walk in, and just be active in the dimension that He has called me to be active in. So I suppose, because I'm not the one that's in the finding, right? So I'm going to be living my best life, working for the Lord, because He's my husband, really, until He appoints me to be helping somebody else in their purpose and destiny. Right. I'll be sharpening my own end, so that when you come, I'm a better help for you. All right. And I think that's what I focus on right now, to be the best help I can. So when He brings whoever He wants to bring, I can polish that. Yeah. All right. So
interesting point. Like you said, that word doing the findings. So you as Dami, you're in your quiet place, you're praying. God gives you not these funky signs of half fear, half the proper revelation. You have seen the man. You have not half like proper. You've seen it, but then this guy is just
open heavens, access to revelation.
This guy is just not approaching for whatever reason. He's not fine. But you're, at least in your spirit, you're convinced. You have the peace. You have everything. But for whatever reason, this guy is just not approaching. Maybe he's not spiritually in tune enough to to get that leading from God. So what do you do? Do you go?
Not spiritually in tune enough. Oh my God.
He's still getting there. Give him a chance to grow. He's still growing. So what do you do then? Do you then approach him?
Is my husband not spiritually inclined enough? Sorry. Yeah. Carry on.
Do you keep waiting forever until he does the finding? Do you approach? Do you because I know the guy's expected to do the finding. But what about you as the lady? If you've been led, like you feel properly led, but the guy is just not whatever maybe he's just distracted with life,
I think it's okay to let them know, to be honest. I don't think you're going to chase. I think you just be, because I like being honest, to be honest. And I think it just saves you, because if you're there thinking, oh, this person, I've seen them in a dream kind of thing, and the person has no incline towards you, you're just wasting your time, really. So I would say probably make it known, and if they are not able to acknowledge it in that season and whatnot, because like we said, God is not an author of confusion. So I don't think there's any way you would have such a deep incline and they wouldn't. Abi, would you think so?
I mean, the word, what was that verse? The one of the when the word and the words of life choked it out. So he could have given him the word, this is your wife, but
he doesn't want to. I mean, you're lost, darling. You're lost.
So what about
what
you?
Would you think?
Yeah. What about you? If a lady came and approached you and said, "I'm interested," does that
like, hey, I dreamt about you. What would you like today?
It's a bit funny. So I think the best way to handle it would be to, go back to God. Ask God, okay, God, this lady has come to me. I don't want to put a formula to it. Like, this lady has come to me, unless God is telling me, leading me to another person. No, this lady has come to me. If God is leading me to another person, I'll just tell this, it can't be God. It can be somebody else.
All right, yeah, okay,
yeah,
fine. Interesting perspective. But she's telling you, okay, but it's fine. I guess you also have to hear from God.
Yeah.
She's hard, but that's fine. You also have to hear from God on your side. That's
because no matter how much I suppose resolve you have, I think it's always best if both people hear, because marriage is a long time. Forever is a long time.
For life.
It's not like, oh, you told me or I told you. You know, both people have to have that conviction so that you're both, heading in the same direction. Because we spoke about agreement in marriage and making that decision.
Yeah.
So each person has to have come to that decision for their own.
Yeah.
So if the second person can't come to that decision, then
Yeah.
don't know what we're doing there, really.
All right, yeah. And what about because in the podcast we spoke about, finding someone who can sort of bear your destiny or get you to where you're going. In principle, it should be, sort of a mutual thing. You see what makes most sense, who's in the better position to move forward. But in practice or in reality, most of the time it tends to be the woman has to sacrifice her vision, so to speak, to push the man's vision. How do you feel about that? And what if you feel, not from a point of pride, just from a point of how things look, the vision you're carrying is greater than your husband's? How would you approach him with that?
The vision I'm carrying is greater than... Firstly, I don't think there is two visions in the house. I don't think there should be two visions in the house. That's why it's important for your purposes to align, And that's the thing that's what you discuss about. And that's why the Lord leads you, because then you won't lead you to someone that's there, you're there kind of thing. So there has to be one vision at home. So if we're talking about whose vision is greater, then that already diminishes the aspect of oneness in the marriage. So having that vision together is very important, because then I come and support that vision as well as we're in a partnership here. We have a family project that we have to achieve for the kingdom of God being established here on earth. So that vision is, so I wouldn't see it as, forfeiting my... What did you say? Forfeiting my career or whatever. I think it's just a case of, at certain points in life, he also might have to make that sacrifice for the sake of that one goal that we're all trying to achieve. So it wouldn't feel like, oh, I've given up my side of things so that you can go and do something. No, it's just a case of maybe who's better at what in this season.
All right.
Obviously, we're probably talking about when children come into the picture or whatnot. So clearly, most of the times, the mother, is more likely to be at home in that season. But there might be times where the father also maybe steps back, or in other areas that we don't see, whilst, you're doing the other thing. Because your children are part of that big project. So if nobody is really raising up the children, then really you're throwing away the whole project and the vision of the home. So, no, I wouldn't call it having a greater vision than my husband, but that's why you speak about it before you make the choice. So if you feel like God is calling you to something much higher and the vision of the person that you're trying to go with isn't there, then that's something to take to the Lord in prayer and be like, is this the person you want me to partner with, or are we vastly different in purpose?
All right, and just to clarify, you said one vision, there's one vision in the house, but what does that mean? Does that mean, if let's say my vision is I'm called to ministry, must I go and find, a lady who's also in ministry? Or do you mean one vision so that, when we get married, even though I sort of move or shift from what I'm doing, we're now both carrying that same vision together? Because in reality, there'll be times where someone will have to not necessarily switch, but at the very least change from the direction they were going to align properly because of marriage, because you need to align as one unit, two come together and become one. But for that to happen, sometimes there will be times where, we were heading slightly different directions and we had to come together. So are you saying when we come together, we now have one vision, or before marriage, you have to be going the same direction as I'm going before we can become one?
I won't say you have to be going in the same direction, because like I said, you guys might be working on two completely different things. But I feel like there has to be some sort of alignment, or at least before you make that decision, then you're coming together to talk about that one vision. Whether that's, let's say, I don't know, you are in videography, I'm in ministry. Maybe those are two different things. But you don't know if the Lord wants you to shoot my ministry, or you get, I'm a writer and you are a pastor. You don't see an alignment. There. That's why we say God is a matchmaker, because He knows how both things will partner up. So you won't see the full road ahead, but you need to have an idea of how there's a fit in there. So it doesn't have to be, okay, you're in videography, she has to be in videography, or she's in IT, you have to be in IT, or whatever that may be. But you have to have had an agreement before marriage that we are heading towards one vision. You know,
Right.
and obviously that vision is huge. It's not something that you might be able to digest now. But bringing the kingdom here on earth, you know, for God's glory is a vision.
All right, that makes sense. I have one more question. So based on what you said about vision, in general, as a man, you're expected to have a vision, or at least somewhere because of how the head structure works. You know, you're expected to be the head of the family. So you're meant to have a vision. So when you're looking for a partner, do you want her as well to have a vision, or do you because there's this baby girl lifestyle that's sort of
let's not trash the baby girl lifestyle. It's essential.
It is a thing. You'll have I've had people come and say to me like, oh, you know, I want someone who will take care of me and, you know, and all that. But first of all, is that wrong? Is that wrong? Just, you know, I'm a baby girl. I just want someone who will take care of me, and I'll support you and do everything I need to, but just take care of me and give me, you know, some sort of ease. Or do you want someone who's a bit more driven? And is it wrong to just want to be a baby girl, so to speak? Like, well, what do you think about that?
For me, I'd say I'd want someone who would have the grace to bear my purpose with me, or to bear what God has put in my heart. Because you can be a baby girl or be very, very serious, but if she doesn't have that grace, then it's going to cause a rift. So as long as she has the grace, and it's God that would give the grace, I think that's pretty much what matters. Yeah,
I like that. Because I believe it'll change very differently from person to person.
So you don't want a baby girl. Is that what you're trying to say, Joshua?
When I say baby girl or Okonjo-Iweala,
I mean,
that grace has to be there.
Because I feel it differs from person to person. There's some men who prefer to spoil their spouses, and they would much prefer a baby girl type of I
mean,
I feel it makes sense.
Spoil me.
No, I'm not against spoiling. You know,
Joshua clearly is.
Okay, fine. Let me give my perspective.
Okay.
I feel you cannot underestimate having someone who's driven. That's my perspective. Someone who's driven with you, because sometimes to get where you're going in life, you have to go at a very, very fast pace. If you have someone who's constantly trying to rest at every stop, you won't realize, but it will slow you down. You won't realize, but it will slow you down. So it's not a bad thing to slow down, because when you get a family, your priorities change. But you just have to be careful as, okay, fine. Am I being slowed down because I intentionally chose to? Am I being slowed down because, you know, I've just married anyhow, so to speak? Yeah. So, but because I feel having a drive, it doesn't have to be an insane drive, but just because. So
is there a drive to push you, or is there a drive in life, like for your family vision? Do you get what I mean? Because if it's a drive for, like, let's say bearing purpose, let's say, of like, you know, having the grace for that, she can be pushing you with her mouth at home. Do you get what I mean? I cross my leg, you buy me Starbucks, and I don't tell you to go out there and do your thing.
In the words of my twin, because I have a twin, the words of my twin brother, God's plan and purpose for your life is not to be somebody's baby girl. He's
catapult that.
No, because he's put something in each and every one of us.
Absolutely.
All I care about is, as long as you're also achieving some measure of your potential, I don't care. You can be my baby girl. I don't really care, but just don't settle for less, because you're like, okay, fine, I just want to relax. Like, just achieve your potential.
I do.
Achieve your potential.
Okay, sorry. I do believe somehow with this baby girl thing, like, there's a kind of ministry that's so ministry of helps, right? Yeah. There's a kind of ministry that just being a baby girl can help your husband to see clearly. Yeah. Somehow. No. Okay,
so are you telling me if my wife is not so it's not like the baby girl lifestyle, but she still loves me, still supports me, still, you know, gives me advice, I still wouldn't get the same sort of nourishment that the baby girl wife, so to speak, would give. Is that what?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that the baby girl lifestyle is not entirely, it's not bad.
Because you know, when you say, we have to be careful here, because when we use, like, let's say the word less driven, like I said, in some regard, it can look like it is. Yeah. Because some people, you can't, for example, underestimate the call to be a mother. Yeah. Some people, that's their calling and their purpose in life. Let's say just to be a mom, to raise their home, to build that home. Yeah. And that's a whole purpose and a whole drive in itself. Yeah. So to you, let's say if we're talking about the typical of what driven looks like, it might be she's a stay-at-home mom. She's taking care of the kids while you're doing your thing. Is that driven or what to you? Because to you, like, for example, if you're coming from that perspective, that might look like she's not driven. But if she's not doing that, then
Yeah.
Firstly, you have to scatter. Secondly, that's the whole ministry in itself. in my opinion. You know what I mean? So it's not that you have a specific kind of drive.
No.
Like we have to go to work 6 a.m. Everybody rise.
I think that's fine. Though stay at home because like. At some level, someone has to sacrifice. Or you could choose to get a nanny. I don't. That's up to you. But
that's what I get a nanny. Get a nanny. Let's go to work.
But the stay at home, I don't mind. Like I said, as long as you're achieving your potential and you're fulfilled in life. Because one of my biggest, words is I don't want you to, like my wife, for example, you hit maybe your 30s, your 40s, then most likely the kids are moving out for college or whatever. Then you're feeling lost in life.
You're looking like soggy bread.
No. You're feeling lost in life because you've devoted your all maybe just to the kids, and then now that the kids are gone, you're now feeling a bit, aimless. Like it's not bad because of staying at home. It's quite a lot of work. In and of itself, it's hard to manage it with other things. So But just to clarify, I'm not against the baby girl lifestyle.
I think I miss the baby girl lifestyle. That's why it's also good for the wife to know God.
Yes, exactly. What I was
so even if she's doing her baby girl, she can be doing her baby girl and is leading women in church.
All right,
So it's always about, does she have that personal relationship with the Holy Spirit? Because the Holy Spirit would always tell her, see, you can't be sitting at home now. you can't just be doing this. So that constant promptings would always help her. So I don't have to say much.
Absolutely.
Holy Spirit, tell her.
And I think that's what we touched on in the beginning, remembering that women, especially that you're daughters of the Most High first, before any of, livelihood and motherhood came into the picture. So it's important that, if you found her doing, then the likelihood of her continually doing is higher because she wasn't doing it because of you in the first place. So it's not, we don't sit around waiting for a man, we continue fulfilling purpose till the Lord, positions the person that we're meant to help in the picture. So if you I think it's more likely if you're sitting idle being like, I just want to get married or send me a billionaire or a millionaire. We can make the money ourselves. Is it making money? We can do that. But there's things that we need to walk in before.
Right, I think that makes sense. Unless if you have any final words, I'll bring it to a close. Do you have any?
No.
All right. All right. So that's been it for this week's episode. Just one more time, I'm not against the baby girl lifestyle.
One more time.
Just to make sure all at the back they'll hear it as well. I feel it's okay. Just be aware that when you're marrying, people have different requirements or different views of marriage. If your wife's a baby girl, come prepared for the baby girl.
Come with baby girl money.
Don't halfway change your mind. But that's been us from Limitless Speaks once again. Lovely having you, Cyril, Dami, and Raymond, who's
Raymond, do you have anything to add or say or contribute?
Nothing to add.
Nothing. Lovely.
Awesome. So
So
have a lovely weekend. When picking, just make sure you get your leading from God and choose well. Choose well.
choose wisely. With God.
Bye.
Bye,
guys.